Hey there, Casey here at home with Casey. And currently you're speaking to Casey as the real estate agent here in Portland, Oregon. I am a licensed real estate agent here in Oregon, and I'm excited to share with you some information about the current market. We are now in the middle of spring, which is primarily the biggest time when people are putting their houses, they're buying and selling. But we are in special times, and it is COVID. So I wanted to address that because at this time, people are still concerned about what's happening, and I wanted you to be up to date as the industry has pivoted and we're adapting to the times so that we have protocols in place so you can safely buy and sell homes. And I have special guests with us, so we're going to talk about what's happening in the market to alleviate some of the fears or concerns that you might be having. We have Gretchen Lee from Ticor Title. She is a sales executive. Welcome, Gretchen.
Thank you. Thanks, Casey. Thanks for having me and also Ryan. Did you want me to touch a little bit on the—
Yeah, Gretchen, tell us a little bit about what you do at Ticor Title.
Okay, great. Well, thanks again. I'm Gretchen Lee, and I am one of the sales execs at Ticor, which means that I basically work with the real estate agents mostly, and I do have a few lender clients as well, and I help them with their business, marketing, and that kind of stuff. And then I also work with our escrow officers, so I try to make sure those relationships are smooth. And basically in what's been going on, we've kind of come up with a new norm. So should you have a transaction, so if you're buying or selling real estate, it's the parts that have changed are really the ending and like your earnest money and stuff like that. So you can still come to the office. We are doing mostly just call in for appointment only type of situations. That way we can just limit who's in the office and coming in. And when you get to your closing, then we can have a mobile notary come to a location that's most comfortable for you, whether that be at your home or somewhere else. And we also are set up perfectly well at the offices. So we've got some plexiglass dividers in the signing rooms. Our escrow officers are wearing masks, gloves, and we have those items available for the clients when they come in as well. So we've got those things covered for you guys. So kind of just as things change and we need to offer different items, we will be ready to do that as well. So we've kind of got that covered, and your escrow officers are just great with their communication. So all during the transaction process, you'll know what all of the different things we're doing to help ensure your safety as well as theirs. So.
Fantastic. Yeah, so it sounds like the title company and escrow, you've just really adapted to make the transaction smooth toward the end, because I think that's sometimes a concern. So
absolutely.
And then we're at the height of the market here in springtime. So in Oregon, typically this is the height of the market. And what we're noticing is that when more and more people are at home, they might be shifting their buying and selling needs. But currently right now, there are still people that are buying and selling, and the market is still thriving. Although there are a number of houses available for the market, we've noticed that our inventory is a little bit lower, and our interest rates are actually very low as well. So if you're interested in buying, you might have a low inventory, but you're going to get a bigger bang for your buck with those low interest rates. And so I think really what the big concern is to really let you know the industry has, again, shifted to adapt to these changing times so that we can do everything more mobily, like with Zoom. You can do virtual tours, virtual open houses. The real estate agents are still there. And I think it's really important to really just be aware that things are changing. And I think Ryan Jacobsen, another guest that we have from Ticor Title, is going to tell us a little bit about what those numbers look like. So if you were afraid to be buying and selling, there's no need to be, because life is still continuing on, and we can do that successfully through the changes that the industry has made. So Ryan, tell us a little bit about what's going on with the market.
Yeah, definitely. Just a little bit of background on me. I'm the technology marketing specialist with Ticor Title, but I spent the last 5 years with RMLS. So I know the statistics side of stuff. I've been teaching it for years. I just joined Ticor in February of this year, right before everything changed. But I'm pretty expert at running statistical analyses through RMLS, and there's definitely some cool things you can pull out of there to get a look at the impact on the market that COVID's had. And I've gone through and created a few graphics, which I'm going to share on the screen here, just to kind of give you an idea of what the market's been doing and kind of how to interpret that a little bit. First off, I have here is just a list of the new listings over the last 10 weeks. So over the last 10 weeks, we've seen compared, the green here is going to be 2019 versus the blue is 2020. And things started out fairly normal. In fact, this is starting March 10th, going through to the last week. And you can see, like, even into late March, by March 30th, numbers were almost the same as 2019 as far as how many new listings were coming on the market. But then the last week of March, first week of April, we just saw a plummet, you know, and that's when the fear struck. The funny part about that is I was already transitioned to working from home. That first graph, that first chart, I think it was the 13th of March is when I transitioned to working from home. So it took the market almost 2 full weeks to go, wait a minute, we're not going to list, or for people to kind of get that fear, I think, that we're not going to list. It took a while. And what we've seen is it did drop. You can see it peaked last year at the end of March at over 1,100 listings, and we're only at 645 at the beginning of April. So there's definitely a big gap. However, what we're seeing is it's starting to improve. And last year it dipped into April and then started to climb out, and we're seeing it kind of just flatlined in April and now appears to be climbing back out. I think the fear is gone a little bit from people that they are like, okay, we can still transact, we can still list our property.
Yeah.
I think where you really see a big change here, and I'm just going to switch to this one, and this is the pending listings. So the first chart was just how many new listings, but when you look at pendings, you can see first they reacted way faster. We saw a lot less pending. I mean, by just the second graph here, we'd already had less offers on the listed properties than last year, and that took 2 full weeks for new listings. So the reaction was almost instant with these pendings. But what we've seen here is they've recovered steadily, which means there are still buyers out there. And the fact that inventory is down actually means that it's more competitive out there and there are still buyers. In fact, you can see last week, we had more pendings than last year at this time. What that tells me is lenders are busy.
Yeah.
They're getting a lot that they have to try to close and try to get going on. A lot of this is in the lender side in their arena. And, you know, like you said, interest rates are down and stuff. So hopefully that's helping. There is still fear about the economy. And I'm sure the lending side is having to pull everything to try to get people qualified and things. You know, and that's always going to be a challenge, but it's particularly hard right now. But the fact that there are a lot of transactions pending is a good sign. When we look at solds, this one took a lot longer to react. You can see it wasn't even really a big shift until we hit almost mid-April. And then we started to see that the sold started to decline. And, you know, now we've got a really big gap between how many sold the same week, this last week, compared to last year. But with so many pending now, that just means a month from now, there's going to be a huge spike in solds as those transact, as those fund, hopefully, on the lending side, that it's not going to be quite as impactful. So the neat part about these statistics too is you can pull them yourself. RMLS just makes these available. You do need to kind of know where to go to pull those. That's something that I can teach that, you know, obviously I know a lot about. These are graphs that we can provide and things like that too. But I think the important part is that the market is moving. There are changes. It's obviously different than last year. That doesn't necessarily mean that everything's come to a halt.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and to Ryan, that is just to the agents. They can pull it on RMLS, but the consumer can just reach out to their realtor, Casey, and she can either provide these, or Casey can reach out to us to modify
This is a realtor only be able to pull these, correct?
Yeah. And so when we look at those graphics and we look at that information that Ryan showed, that there is still a positive change in the market, and that you can rest assured with your clients to really guide them through that process to say that, yes, this is what's happening. Now, as we continue to move through these COVID times, like you said, those sales are going to go up. A month from now, we're going to have we're going to see a lot more sales going on. but that pending also shows that the market is still strong. We came into this COVID period with a really strong market, and we're noticing that people are still buying and selling. And as each of the players, the title companies, the lenders, the real estate agents, and all of the vendors, the inspectors, and everyone that has to be involved in our industry, everybody's making adjustments to continue to let this real estate happen. So when people say what's going on with the market, well, depending if you're buying, selling, or investing, there is still activity, and it's still sort of a positive thing to be happening in this day and time. So, you know, I am Casey. I appreciate you guys joining me and learning a little bit more about what's happening in the market, maybe alleviating some of those fears. But I want to thank Gretchen Lee and Ryan Jacobsen from Ticor Title for sharing that information with us. We will see changes moving forward, but for now, we are safely moving forward, and that those adaptations that we've made might even continue further down the line when we have, you know, virtual tours and virtual open houses, and makes things easier and streamlined for everybody else. So again, thank you, Gretchen. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks,
we
Casey.
appreciate it. Let me know if you need to, we have information for both Ryan and Gretchen if you want to ask them questions. And I'm Casey. Please let us know whatever questions that you have. We look forward to seeing you out there. I'm At Home with Casey, or Casey, the real estate agent. You guys take care and stay well.